Okay, now here we go. All right. I appreciate your patience. Um, like I say, the day just got away from me. We had a late student and I needed to stick around to make sure, you know, um, everybody was okay. But what we're doing, it's not just for our Carmelite group, but it's for those who are maybe discerning on being a secular Carmelite. So when they come to our website, I wanted them to have some examples of how we live our lives as secular Carmelites. I was looking around the websites and YouTube to find any example because I wanted to feel motivated and see if what I'm doing is appropriate or if I could do something better. So I decided to just launch a series of our own so that we seem like we're having a few more visitors. So I want people to be motivated to come to us and to find out how we live our Carmelite life. It is kind of daunting, but it's very rewarding. And so with that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to Catholicism, if you were born Catholic or whatnot, and how you came to Carmel?
Okay, I can do that. When I was little, and I was born a cradle Catholic,
Mm.
so I've been a Catholic my whole life. When I was little and going to catechism, we had a small mission church, and the priest lived next door in a house that also had a library in it for all of the parishioners. And the beautiful thing about that library was that it had a whole section for children. And so I would go every week after catechism and I would just load up with books about saints. And he had so many books about becoming a nun. And I wanted to become a nun. And all of my favorite saints were Carmelite saints. So, of course, that was the way I wanted to go. But then the teenage years came in and you just get married and you have a family. But I never gave up on that feeling. And I had no idea that there were lay Carmelites until maybe 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And it really excited me. So I wanted to pursue it. So that's how I came. And I got all the way to aspirancy with another group in another state and then moved. And so I had to start all over again. So you got to know I wanted it really bad.
Right, right. And that's what we find, right? With people, it's a 6-year formation, and but after the first few meetings, I knew I was hooked. I mean, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So, um, so how do you live as a secular Carmelite? How do you incorporate the prayers and whatnot in the silence and walking through life as a Carmelite? How do you incorporate that in your working and or retired life or or life period?
Okay, I'm going to have a little disclaimer here before I explain my answer to that, in that if I had been in any other stage of my life, I probably couldn't offer as much as I do to prayer and that kind of time. Because if you have a family, if you have a husband, all of that has to happen and you have to make a balance. And right now I'm retired. I don't have a job. I don't have to be anywhere. I live by myself. So silence is a way of life for me.
Mm.
And I almost every day spend at least half of my day in some form of prayer. I start praying before I even get out of bed. And the last thing I do is pray at night. And as a Carmelite, we're supposed to do Liturgy of the Hours, morning and evening prayer. I do that, but I also do Office of the Readings and I do night prayer. I have several offerings of mental prayer because sometimes The things that are already written are so beautiful and they touch my heart. So I offer those. I offer several novenas in perpetuity. I do the Seven Sorrows of Mary. I just have a lot of things like that that I do that take up a lot of my time when I'm getting ready in the morning, driving on my way to chapel. And my parish has a chapel that has adoration on the weekdays. And so I take advantage of that every day. And I go in and spend an hour. And in that hour is when I speak one-on-one with my Savior, not somebody else's prayers, but my own. I just offer him everything that's on my heart. And sometimes then he answers me. And I have been trying and trying and trying to perfect total silence in adoration. And that's very difficult for me because my brain takes over, but Jesus understands and he's working with me on that. But after an hour of adoration, then I get ready and I drive to the big church where we have Mass every day. And I get ready for Mass by going over the readings and reading the commentaries. And I try to do what Brother Lawrence, a Carmelite monk from ages ago, recommended in his book, In the Presence of God. I try to put myself, as often as I remember to do it, in the presence of God. And I find that it's nearly impossible to do anything sinful
Mm,
if you're in the presence of God.
mm.
So the more I do that, the more I live as a Carmelite.
What do you get out of living that life? What do you get out of all the prayers, all the meditations, and the silence, and what do you get out of it?
I think the only best word I can give you is peace. I just feel that peace that's talked about in the Bible that's beyond all understanding.
Mm,
And in the past year, I've had 4 surgeries. And because I was prepared in prayer and because I was prepared sacramentally, I was never scared. And it didn't matter what the outcome was going to be. I just wasn't scared. Jesus was with me.
that's a blessing.
It is. And in the morning, I do a rosary while I walk outside. And I always ask Jesus to walk with me, and I can feel him
Mm,
with me.
mm.
So, yes, it's a constant way of living.
So on the weekends when you don't do adoration, what do you do?
I'll go to occasionally to go to the Saturday morning mass, but that's an 8 a.m. mass, and I'm not an
Hmm
8 a.m. person. But I do keep up on all the prayers and, the walking with Jesus and the rosary and I just try to, as best as I can, always think of what should a Carmelite be doing and try to live up to that. I set pretty high standards for myself.
Well, if someone's watching or watching this video or coming to our website, what would you offer them by way of input as it relates to their discernment on becoming a secular Carmelite?
I think, first of all, recently I was approached by somebody who thought that the Carmelites were just another ministry that they could bring to their parish.
Mm,
And I would want them to understand that no, this is really a secular order. It's the same as being a nun or a friar. And we have promises at points in time during our studies, and we have to really think of ourselves as a vocation.
right.
And there is a commitment. There is study, there's homework, but all of that is so important. It's just broadened my world a lot to learn what I have learned so far. And I'm in my 3rd year.
Well, it's amazing you should say that because and I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but sometimes we get involved in the inertia of church. You know,
Mhm.
we go to church, we do these things that the checks in the block, but we always feel like, I know for me, I felt like there was something deeper, something that I'm not grasping. And fortunately, I went to my priest and asked him about becoming. Well, ignorantly, I asked him about becoming a mystic, and of course, he laughed and everything. But he told me that, I should think about the secular Carmelites, and I, start researching, and I just fell in love, and it has since been validated because I've, looked at a little bit of, or very little, but what the Dominicans or what the Ignatian way of spirituality is. And I think, I mean, there is a reason why no matter what order they are, people will come to Carmelites for spirituality and,
Mhm.
deep prayer. So, um, what's your favorite part about being a secular Carmelite?
Oh, that's a tall order question. So far, it has changed my way of living. I now put a guard on a lot of my thoughts and my words. I try to think like the saints that I read about thought. And it changes everything. I had an experience this morning in adoration where I was asking Jesus, what was it that I could actually offer in this offering? And then after I get done with my adoration part, I stay in adoration and I read. And I usually go back to my childhood reading about
Mm,
saints. And I'll be darned if I didn't get an answer to my prayer right away. And I'd like to read it to you because it talks about vocation.
sure.
It is Saint Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, and it's from her book
That
of
that that was Edith Stein, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes. It's from her book of short offerings.
Hmm.
And she's talking about the three wise men. And she says, and the kings have a special meaning for us too, meaning Carmelites.
Hmm.
Even though we already belong to the external church, an interior impulse nevertheless drove us out of the circle of inherited viewpoints and conventions. We knew God, but we felt that He desired to be sought and found by us in a new way. Therefore, we wanted to open ourselves and sought for a star to show us the right way. And it arose for us in the grace of vocation. We followed it and found the divine infant. He stretched out his hands for our gifts. He wanted the pure gold of a heart detached from all earthly goods, the myrrh of a renunciation of all the happiness of this world in exchange for participation in the life and suffering of Jesus. And he wanted the frankincense of a will that surrenders itself and strains upward to lose itself in the divine will. In return for these gifts, the divine child gave us himself.
That
I
is
just
beautiful.
loved that. Isn't that beautiful?
That is beautiful. And it speaks directly to those things that we're studying when we study Carmelite spirituality, like um, Saint John of the Cross and
Mhm.
Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint Therese, because when we get rid of all those things, when we actually detach ourselves from those things, and it's actually detaching ourselves from those creatures, right? Those that
Yes,
their affection for
yes,
those things. It's not saying that we necessarily have to do without a lot of things, but we that affection for those things, and our affection, our attention, it should only be for Jesus. And that's very powerful. That's very powerful, especially when you talk about the second discernment, second level of discernment that's in Saint John of the Cross and Saint Teresa of Avila. But we're gonna that's a tease for anybody that wants to come over and visit
Yes.
us and actually learn what spirituality is and the love of Jesus, what it does in our lives. Because I know, you talked earlier about if you were still working, you may not have the time to do because you may not have time to do all the prayers and whatnot because our first vocation is our family. And certainly mine is to be a husband and to be a dad and everything. And if I mess that up, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but at the same time, someone told me that if you think you don't have time for certain things, pray to God to have time, and just be prepared because He will make you have time for it, and so you commit yourself to that. And I know it's made me more loving, more patient, and my wife says I'm a better person. Cause you everybody's better than me because that's a low bar, but that's another story.
No, that's humility right there.
Well, let me ask you something else. What about the night prayer and examine? Do you ever do that?
Yes, every night. And
You,
it's very helpful. I get down to, I hate to admit this, but scrupulosity is a problem.
hmm
But I get down to the very smallest of things. What could I have done better? What did I do well? That kind of examine. And I try to really take it serious.
Yeah, I mean that's and it's brave of you to do that, right? Because, and did you say you also think about the things that you do well?
I do.
Good,
And I also think of the things that I forget to do at all,
right, right.
the obvious things.
And people think that you just have to think about all the sin that you may have committed, or but it's also giving thanks for the good that you were able to do, as far as you're able to discern the good in it, and you asking God for more of an opportunity to do those things.
Yes.
Um, okay, so when you're going through your life and the people that you encounter, you meeting, do you feel that, and I'm talking about the close friends and stuff now, do you feel like you've changed them? Or I should say, what effect do you think that your Carmelite spirituality has on the people that you're closest to?
I can tell you a funny story that is a friend that lives in another state. She was raised Baptist
Hmm.
and she went through a great trauma a few years ago, and I've been working with her through that trauma. And she now calls herself a Baplic, half Baptist, half Catholic. She
I like that.
And I laugh at that every time she says it, but she really wants to be Catholic. She just can't get herself up to go to Mass every Sunday.
Hmm.
So I'm going to work on her.
Well, that's good, right? It's like Saint Therese, and that's one of the things I pray about sometimes. Is I want to bring as many souls as I can to Jesus. It's not that I'm a Bible thumper because I'm not, but it's much deeper than that. And sometimes, and I guess this was the source of my question, sometimes it's our examples that show people what to do or what not to do.
Yes,
So, and so that's an awesome responsibility for, in being a Carmelite, along with our prayer, because our prayer is our main vocation. And some people might say, well, what can you do if you're not out there, you know, giving food to the hungry or this or that? And which we're going to, our group, we will talk about an apostolate for our group. But our main vocation is prayer, and prayer is very powerful. And
yes,
so There's a reason why we get all these prayer requests and that prayers are answered and whatnot. So it's indeed a blessing.
It's interesting to me that over the past couple of years, people find out that I'm a Carmelite and attack me at Mass for prayer. Not,
Oh, okay.
you know,
Yeah.
oh, I need you to pray for me,
Right.
not a real attack, just
Okay. I was gonna say,
yeah. And
but
you just see them coming and you know what's happening.
and doesn't that make you feel good that
It
they,
does.
you
It,
know,
it makes me especially feel good because there is something I can do. I
right.
can pray.
That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And of course we're not even doing it, we're not even praying for people because it feels good. We're doing it because it's the loving thing to do.
Yes.
We're not attached to, we work at not being attached to anything or any affection, I should say. I should reiterate that. Um, so who's your favorite saint?
Saint Therese.
Saint Therese?
Yes, because I just love her little way, to do little things with great love. We
Hmm.
can all do that.
Right, right. And yeah, you're absolutely right. To be able to, you think about the little things that we do at work, and if when I'm not being selfish and when I'm actually, in the moment, and I'm not being impatient, talking to someone that's down, or or writing a note to someone about the classes that they need to take, and the time that you take when you don't have to. I mean, you're absolutely right, and that's rewarding, and but at the same time, we do it because it's the way of showing Jesus love, right? Because when we treat other people with love, we're actually treating Him with love.
Yes.
So, what are some things that come to mind this evening as we talk about this that you want to share?
I'd like to share with people that are considering coming to their first meeting
Hmm.
that, and I know I've said this in our group, I I really feel like this is a group of people that are so very knowledgeable about their faith. And it's so wonderful to be able to be in a group and be able to discuss things and have people have different thoughts, which spurs me on to bigger thoughts. And it just makes my faith grow and it excites me. I look forward to that.
And a lot that's beautiful. A lot of people don't realize that we're all a community is there to help each other get into heaven, right? We're helping.
Yes.
We are all of we're fellow spiritual directors with one another,
Yes.
and you hit on something very important, very dear to my heart, because when I come to meetings, and I've told Estrella and someone else this, I feel like afterwards I feel like I've been at a retreat,
Yes.
and it's it takes a lot out of me. It's not after we have in a good way, in a great way.
Mhm.
After we come, we get done with our day. Sometimes I come home and I love taking naps anyway. But when I take a nap, it's just so, I feel so, I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like um, I don't know. I just feel like I've been nourished, and I have
Yeah.
something to ponder, you know.
And that's part of that piece.
Right, right,
Yes, I understand and I can relate to everything you just said.
right. Well, so I am going to then conclude our little video, and I'm so glad I was able to make it on, and I am so thankful and glad that you sharing and of your sharing and helping me and helping the group to put these things on for others, and I join you in inviting people to our just come to a meeting, and and see. So,
Absolutely.
all right. On that, Cheryl, you have a great night and thank you. And I look forward to seeing you uh, when on the 6th. Is it the 6th? Or not this week, but no, it-
It's
it's
a
a little
week
ways
from
away.
Saturday, I think. It's a ways away yet.
Yeah. At any rate, I'll see you then.
All right.
And
Thanks,
I know
Patrick.
we'll see each other before then because we got to get together and do uh, some formation work.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Good night, Cheryl.
Good night, Patrick.